A day in 2015, while on my way to work, I saw a police officer arrest a number of motor riders at the Legon bus stop, and so I decided to film and use for a story. I was subsequently arrested, sent to the Legon police station, detained and intimidated for some 6 hours before I was let go. Now, today, Kudah, a colleague, remember, we all started from Radio Universe. He has been allegedly being tortured by some personnel of the national security for filming installation, but the journalist says he rather filmed some cars that had been left to rot at the premises. Captain Smart faces a month suspension for allegedly slandering President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and the IGP, but the journalist has denied any wrongdoing. Call it occupational hazard, but we ask, is free press in Ghana a facade? We table this for a riveting discussion. Later on, we'll focus on NSO Usubempe's apology after that episode that angered a number of showbiz personalities. I am Benefo Boabin Abrantipa, and this is Bloggers Forum on Ghana Web TV. Thanks for joining us on Bloggers Forum. I am Abrantipa. Abdul Karim Ibrahim, it's a columnist. He joins us for this episode. Karim, welcome.
Thank you very much, Abrantipa.
And Baraka de Salah.
Baraka Kadi.
McDonald Nanaya Asari, aka Romeo, is a columnist and the assemblyman for Medina Social Welfare. Romeo, welcome.
Thank you.
So is in order to say Baraka de Salah
on the streets.
Medina, dear. I didn't
know Romeo was an assemblyman. No.
Oh,
he's a big man. No.
Romeo, dear. You know, back then on the University of Ghana campus, he's always been a leader. Oh. He's been JCR president of the Kwafu Hall. What's our idea of your craft? Now we're there with School of Performing Arts.
Oh, now we are in charge of the young doctor. Maybe I started there 3 months ago.
Yeah. Because you were part of the executive council of the SRC anyway. All right. So, Ama Bruni is on standby with Nkomo Hall. Let's join her. We'll be back shortly.
Aha. Obebisa so na atare kokoye ni braba violence ankasa celebrate say wo krom ha na watwi mudin sem bi tu dwa manka ni yin mo amahu attack na akoso wo jatwa to the dending amabroni komo ekoso entertainment industry na maboa no amede ba besom maye ntwa ye ho ne embracesia se wotu baby na wodwen ho na so bi kofa asem be for ya wankasa ye nua actress efia odo na wakwakoye interview BBC News Pidgin efia na wo bisa no questions say ni say dey na ekoso wa onim say fix the country we dey no cha Ghana ha ye boy economy ni mu ye din che say wo ye adwuma ska ketu afia bi na obenya na wa akaso mo fix the country say wa onim say efia odo ye convey na odi ani mankasa na efia din sem bia betujo otwema mia wo krom ha say one nkrofo kununum say ye politicians or say ye movie directors one nkrofo edida say na be ye o metumi survive nti dwuma wo mu okrom ha na mafo say if ya menye sa so wonim say wo na adwuma bia wo nya nti na one nkrofo ka say wo na men ka say me wo krom ha one nkrofo da for survivor mo amobeka ya 2018 na actress Moisha Budon okọ CNN on the Christiana Mampo koye interview bi no de tuma amanfo wo krom kankan ne me nkrofo kununum na one wonder say na be ye oba high apartments ka kakra bi na wonya na wodem ebe ye de anu tuma say oh ade na muguye ni masesa na efi odo kirema o se mia no wa na wode won bodi nti so be man kofo adwudwam saa na wa ma we ska nde ye ono a nti ye ono ani body nti ne wo ye bia say o be survive say wode na obi kunu be da o politician no enfo bia ho Ghana for say ye fix the country in command wodi no nyanja ayo wo ko Twitter other social media platforms and your how e koso Ghana ye bad news ni ade wo tro ana wo de ashase ho baby fix the country hashtag na trendy ankasa na ekoso na a female musician a friend Amare wa unim na fancy wa unim say she has a different vibe oba bet tweeting on so din sem bia betu jo twemo politicians there mo betumi yakase o nema nkoso ya ase wo betie won fa anye hwe but wo bomodin na ko kidnap won baba ko bia honum na wadwen bebe fie ena mafuka se ade de wan boss Ghana ha se ana se but se na nkomo yi koi de wa won Ghana se se de protest koso politicians wanti mafu se na ye Ghana ha sem no ka na se general na bo se From had and said the eye wild do walk or cancer be the one can he was an national security. Aha, one by no one best wow. It was a marriage in a you. Yet to us. Then I watch a chemuna, a year fix the country. One would you know do better just so. Or besank away demonstration ka crabby. Now what my bank who say near what can a social media, a hashtag campaign away fix the country, and you're good. Now, I send me concern workers obey the when Ghana police for 10 hours, sir. And ye better America, why you fast, what just a walk court can Okoji injunction or the toast. Of course, Jema, one would say coronavirus in ban on public gathering, it's moon to me as our protesting. And I also Sana Mobay, Mubasa most stop paying, and I was answer trust now. What do ye virtual demo, and a could be brave, face the country, or post here, and all the ashes or face the country, and some be break or so. Now, and a month for say, eh. Aye demonstrators here walk it a placards a canteen and Mako Sa Amokas Mako Dina Independence Square. And then can't cause you had and can now obey you, Mafuchemo, and then we in a name Hunia. Once a star cast, they say, one was so cool Independence Square was out, Kaube Hunsame Coso, and a Mafusu. Face the country in the Wonyenjai or Bakosua, because say, Chrome has say, in some Nakos Mobes of Yamma. Mwana na mushenim say, a yes, Sako dear Edna Betu, a fix the country in Samseno. Finally, Wakasa. Or Trema, ya buy it so, a another danque fado. Who bet me a mafim with Namo de Abuamafo. I'm not bet me affects your more attitude, all right. But the system near Juma, and ye na who betrayin to a Trema, Mwana Mocaso, politics near then. On one year was not in any shape. But as and Chrome has a one for Kebia, now I tag you say we a year who supported government of the day. Sako dear Trema, ya buy it to smoke me a move to me a near chins, and we Juma, and so moon camusho cacra. Now so, a Trema, ya so you will Chrome, and since we are in Afemudi, it's government in Bonhomodin, now so you boy in Homodin. Some mama who say, fix the country campaign ye koso social media celebrities e welcome had one hueje mankasa na ye kan ye keyana e ye endless owusu bempa of Ghana gas ordinance na anu abetu nsemi o chema celebrities e welcome ha say mo nya mo hu ni papa asem yi ba ye mo bo e ye na adodran kwachi mo bo na echi sa so onbo ne homode na fan kosia mo amo kasa mo trotro tweet na fix the country mo kasa se na e bia manu mo nsa no say and also bempa asema bana ye kan na wo baba ka say omo kasa sa kasa na ye kasa ben ne le ja wotu to be man na kasa je say one power na kasa wo chemo one kasa yi o pe hint na se nyesa na ohun ze na nkomo no kone na onu kasa ba no so opa mo chow ewo mu se nsem na okan e bia na ye hash kakranti mumu bia anfa ne boko sa na moto to be amani ti opa mo chow mo fa mo ne enche no I am music producer Morris Babyface and odin se bia betudwa o chema kan na no worry asen oh eye me a was one koda in a day onua tiema ti asem ya mabeke in a day otumi famia mako nan 4 otumi no wonder asem betu de na say eh Morris wo ye sure no chema ono ankasa o how bia no fem tam wo wiase ono ankasa say on wonder on ti ase otumi kaso wedi ewejai wa ma ne nsaso obeye fasting yes wa ya akomchi onya ye so bebreki ana gesi afre na na eja wa aba na wa be say nti Morris na offer how mu pa ko sise na ada bi e de ne koma e ni sofu bi na eja empaibo kakra wo break ade na afede efi no so nti Morris Babyface chema kan na no nkofo da ye ne de am utumi famia for no sankanya kopo enje na ka by this time koguso so abrem na ka be se ka 20 ne over so won say do election time celebrities some endorse political parties and no candidates wa hu 2020 ba ku ya yekoye ne Samini MPP or endorse one fine campaign ma won kama amafo chema bi be di ne side just scan wo twia na nkasa ye ni mu na moka na links entertainment omo former sign 20 Dub Nation what dem say be abetudwa wo se won pa say political party bi on be endorse one dey anka common dey one wo se won nya saade ni bida ko efi say wo endorse one wo ma wo ska kakra fe dey wo ba na se won bo won homodin a na fe dey ese wo kasa untumi nkasa ye because as won sa hwenum into one day one will follow one will pay one what feel all over the world into want to mean by no one castle or more endorse party here and I say party B into pass or be endorse there and common the one Mix Master Gazi wow new music producer we're producing no bebre will come I D crime no Coco Sakura or no producing Stoneboy album ya Gloga Junction no mni fakesia or no producing now na oba talk entertainment with Elsie Lama Ghana Web TV Mix Master Gazi trema oduma no say royalties in Bassa but kakra be kona no deal dey bi okomon de no kra Man for the main kind of rebel. Mubeka a Bishop Bernard Nako, I come wood actor. Last year 2020 oh we. Na kupo ankasa na etunsa friend. Na new year chi na nsem bebre pie. Eye ni colleague back Christian Awuni Ochema oh. We are be ya man for tete se wo so onu no kum. No so onu Christian Awuni. O afa ifa ko kum onipa. Mwa na musande betu ja se na Bishop Tiasi na eye ne mpno ne twempe. O se ni nyina wati. Oba ye interviews with Zion Felix no chema ni nyina nyampa oni Bishop an twempene bia ono ana osi but asema amoka so oni ninya akasa bi no bia bi huntu ekobɔ ni dua o se ni nyina nyampa Bishop we oni ni asem bia kosisi besi ne ebusia no won ye okay otumi kosra won ne ade nti sa asem na amoka no opamocho Munjaika. Nana grada, me pamucho, Evangelist, Patricia, Odro Cranting, no chema, NCA. Muka so close it down need to TV stations. And now, as some that were caught, you go so come asem. Now they are to just so. NCA. Car now the one was operate illegally. No any license, no operate. Also, we cheer sakani na times so you so a year when we training na to the extent say 2 years advance kwa we cheer and of course okay. So what can yati? You want to who say a yampana. And I got they won't say now what tree there. What is our trend ya or comfort also as I said on the woman so evangelist. Now in some Kosiana a year or suffer back over kruma a year prophet kum chacha. I wawatiase. Ochema time bio beba no bebeka agrada ho nsem ese so onu do so ye 419 dwuru no du bunkrofo okroma obeka ne ho asem bia na agrada se ye evangelist no wasoma new young boys bi no aba no no be pacho kosi se o discover brain wo se na nkopese o bribe so be ye din kom chacha so no sa 2000 5000 anya no hwio asem na o kan ne se wo ye fake to be expose you kom chacha so be expose ni de ene abrantepa Yewie na wotwe nkomo ekoso na maboni maboa no amede abem that's ne ebehia.
We are back. It's Bloggers Forum on Ghana Web TV. My guest Abdul Karim Ibrahim is a columnist. Romeo McDonald Nanaya Asare is also a columnist. Next on the table, express freedom in Ghana, whether it is a facade or there are some things that the journalists and the media houses are not doing. Are we being educated enough? Are we overstepping our boundaries? And in instances where we overstep, what is supposed to be done? Karim, you have been in the journalism business for close to a decade. Yeah. You have a story to tell?
I don't do quite as great the job that some of you do. And so, fortunately or unfortunately, I do not have such a magnificent story to tell like you have, like we've seen with Caleb, like Manasseh, like Anas, like Edward Snowden, like Julian Assange. I don't have any such, except that I remember something. It pales in comparison to some of these other stories. But back on campus, so there was this period during this SRC election thing, the famous Phoebe McDad for Legon people. And some of us were quite vociferous on radio at the time. And I remember receiving a call one day in my room, and there were two guys on the other end. They said, "You carry me now? Oh, sorry, who did a candidate not tell me now? You did Charlie." So I know it was a very, at that level, it was not a big deal really for me. But I got scared briefly because like Charlie, because I don't know who, and nothing happened to me, nobody did anything to me, but that's just my own little story in that regard. But that's also because for people who get those sorts of attacks and all of that, there are people who usually are challenging the norm, they're challenging power. And so that's where it comes from. So, some of us are not doing so great in journalism. So,
with all these things that have happened, do you sometimes get scared in carrying out your duties?
Well, yes, I guess. But for me, that is not necessarily because of recent developments. I think that I live my life knowing that at any point in time where someone feels threatened by what you do, that person could harm you. So for me, it is not necessarily because, say, I work as a journalist. I believe that if I was any other person and I, say, for instance, go on Facebook and write something critical of somebody, the person could harm me. So that's how I see it. Notwithstanding that, I think that there are, some examples, evidence to suggest that the people also who have dedicated their lives to do this work of journalism and do it well get attacked because of the work that they are doing. So that's also there. So obviously you always have it at the back of your mind to worry a bit. But if you ask my personal story, it is not because of journalism for me, even though I'm sure that it could be some time to come in the future maybe.
Okay, now let's get into the discussion
Yeah.
proper. With all that has happened in the last couple of weeks, what's your own assessments of the issues?
So let me start from Captain Smart and then segue into the Kudah situation. So you see, when the question is asked whether or not media freedom in Ghana is under threat, that question is a very ambiguous one. And so the answer to that question, it's often also quite complex. It is pretty similar to fix Ghana now. And the question, if you say fix Ghana now, what do you mean? Because, if you want roads, government is doing roads somewhere. If you want employment, government can point to someone who has been employed. Does that mean that your claim or demand for fix Ghana now is invalid? So that's how this media freedom thing is. Is media freedom under attack in Ghana? Well, we're here, we're talking. We can say anything that we want today and it will be published. But it is also true that some people have done work as journalists and have been attacked by one person or the other. So I like to answer that question this way, that there are accounts, evidence, symptoms of media oppression in this country. As to whether or not that is commissioned by, say, the state, that's a different thing altogether. But what is clear is that the countenance of the state also more or less emboldens some of these acts at one point or the other. So in some instances, you, for instance, have, say, the chief spokesperson for the government, Kudah, would make claims that don't, just as bad, let us not do this, in support of media freedom. The president will say one of such in his speech and all of that. You get government people or the state saying things in support of the media. But other times, you will get the likes of Mr. Kennedy Japan and many others also say other things to inflame passions and create chaos. So you can find evidence everywhere. But I leave a lot of this to our conscience and what we see. So then if you look at Captain Smart, it is clearly a case of suppression. Because if the account that he has provided is anything to go by or to use, and especially also mindful of the fact that I have not heard the person that he is charged here coming to provide a counter position on the matter. So it appears quite clear that he is taking off because he has said something that is against the establishment. And so that is a problem. You see, if you go to Australia today, the government of Australia is doing so much to deal with the monopoly that Rupert Murdoch holds on Australian media. It literally covers more than 70% or something. That sort of power that is created by media conglomeration and all of that is something that we need to have conversations about. So Dr. Kokutin, who is the owner of the group, has so many platforms across. I'm someone who endorses free speech without any reservations. But that does not also mean that we cannot be wary of control and power. So that at any point in time, because you have access to all of these, you can just pick your phone and say, right, I don't like that you said A, B, C, D to this person and that person, under the guise of maybe it's doing damage to our business. So, go stay somewhere briefly. Because when you do that, you're essentially cowering that person and leaving some memory for him that this is a frame of reference. Be careful tomorrow not to cross this line. And I think that that's problematic. But if I could just talk also about Caleb Kudah. You see, it is most unfortunate, the sort of things that we're hearing people say and all of that. Don't forget that this is a country that we all live in. There's enough evidence that the state security apparatus have always behaved very irresponsibly and very unprofessionally. So let it not necessarily be, say, a journalist. At every point in time that they have come into contact with people that they disagreed with on anything, they have showed little respect for the rule of law. So when there's an encounter like that, our reaction should not quickly be to go and defend the state. I know this Caleb story very, very, very well. And so the moment I heard that Caleb had been arrested and I heard the location, Blue Gate, I knew what it was about. Because he and I had conversation about that work that he was doing. And you see, the reason I also believe that he didn't tell his superiors when he was going there is something that we do all the time. He was only fact-checking to get some prima facie evidence to then follow up on the story. So you have already given the preamble to that. He posted something in the period of Let's Fix Ghana conversation of cars that had been bought for a certain purpose, left somewhere, growing with weeds all right. So when he posted it, someone said that, well, those cars have been disbursed. So what you are doing is disingenuous. He felt that was, okay, a fair comment for anybody to make. He pulls that post down and apologizes. In that post where he apologizes, people come under that and say, don't take those people's word for it. Why don't you go and verify for yourself? And there are people who are lambasting as journalists, not just people tell you something and you have come to apologize, you say it's okay. So I remember when I was chatting with him personally on that, I was asking, but these cars that you posted, where are they? And then he said, oh, I've heard they are at some national security place called Blue Gate. So the moment I heard that he had been arrested and that was the place, it just dawned on me that, oh, okay, this boy probably wanted to verify that these cars were not there. And then he got himself into all of this trouble and all of that. And so if you look at that and every detail that he has provided so far, I have no doubt in my mind that this was clearly premeditated, and maybe unfortunately for him, he walked right into the trap there and they did all that they did with him. And for anybody who's watching, for anybody who is commenting on this particular matter, you must ask yourself one quick question, that if it is true that the state has bought cars for muscular redistribution and all of that, to, in essence, to help people who don't have jobs to use those cars to do business and all of that, and those cars were sitting somewhere, wasting away, is that good grounds for someone, even if there's a law that says that that building you can't enter, you can't also go and film and do all of that, even if all of that is true, do you reasonably believe that if Caleb walked in there and say, I'm looking for the boss here, DSP Azugu, my name is Caleb Kudah, I work with CT, I've heard that the people are keeping some cars here that is supposed to be used for ABCD. Get one of your boys to take me around to go and investigate whether it is true or not. He would have been slapped. So you would be very silly to think that, well, it's national security, you don't have to go there, without due recourse to why he was there. And I think that is a very important thing that is missing in this conversation about Spark.
Okay. Romeo, let me hear your analysis of it. Do you also think that with all that has happened, journalism is under attack?
Press freedom is undoubtedly the cornerstone of any serious democracy. And it's spelled out within our constitution. Article 162, Chapter 12, 162, clauses 1 to 6. It spells out what is expected of the media and what we are not supposed to do, especially with the clause 6, which talks about the restrictions, like in a moment where, but if you look at clause 1, where press freedom is guaranteed.
Yeah.
The word, see, they knew that people would try to suppressed.
Yeah.
And there are, even when you go further to clause 3, if you can do as the Anna by reading clause 3 to the hearing of viewers, you realize that the Constitution was tailored to protect and guide the media, being the fourth arm, like we always in the fourth estate realm. You get it? To be able to put whoever is in power into check. And also not just to spew out words. That's where, when you go to, I think, clause 4, there's an avenue for rejoinder. When you say something and the person feels that it goes against his person or entity, you have that chance to retract, to also render an apology. Because image, they say, is expensive. Destroying it takes a long while to build. But then again, if you assess the happenings in this country, Abrantepa, in November 1994, that's where people pushed, and some first radio stations were, in terms of a private radio station, were pushed that people need to have that freedom to operate. To the extent that by the year 1995, people had the liberty to be able to set up private TV stations in this country. It was meant to open up the system, not to break that monopoly. GBC those days was enjoying that. Government used those avenues as a measure of controlling what we say, what to be put out and what not to be put out. Now, this is a new dispensation. There's been a paradigm shift from the 1992, before the pre-1992, and even within 1992, people felt people were being suppressed, and that was what people pushed for. And the likes of Nana Akufo-Addo, recently our president, who was a champion in terms of fighting for free speech, freedom and independence of the media. That was what he's been touted for in terms of human rights activists, especially when it has to do with demonstration, the right to say what you have to say to put the government on the toe without fear or favor. So at this point, we've come too far to be experiencing things that we experienced in the past. It's retrogressing. And let me pan into this Captain Smart issue. You see, if tolerating something gives the avenue for correction, Captain Smart, I listened to the show on that day. He hits hard. He's been hitting previous systems, he's been hitting previous leaders, and he's not being attacked. But one will also say, there was a point where Standogwe crashed someone's recorder. These things are not supposed to happen. And if it happened in the past, it has no business in the present. I don't know if you get the clear-cut picture. Now, if someone is telling you that cement was selling at 30 cedis, but it's now selling at 52 Ghana cedis, and dollar was X amount and Y amount now, so do something about it because you are the leader, you pledge the people. I don't see where the insult is. But you see, we've also created a caveat for politicians to use the media to the extent that they want every one of us to kowtow to the whims and caprices of whoever is in power. So once you start hating, they see you as the enemy of the group. But that is not supposed to be the case. But because some leaders, in terms of some prima donors, in terms of the media business in Ghana, have sold their conscience to politicians.
Or they are politicians themselves.
And they are politicians themselves, exactly. Being a politician yourself, it's your personal business. But if you are a media person or a journalist, non-journalist, you have no business skewing facts to favor a political party, knowing that you owe it a duty to the people than to the politicians. So at the end of the day, once they keep using you, they expect that everyone should be in line. So once you fall out of line and your leader or your owner has some kind of affiliations with them in whatever terms, you would be used as a scapegoat, just as Captain Smart was used. Now, panning in further to Caleb's issue. Caleb, you see, journalism does not just end on reporting. It has its investigative aspect. And you don't expect me to announce to the general public that today I'm going to Blue Gate to see if those cars are there? What if they do their damage control? What if they don't even allow me access? You get it? How would we have ascertained some corrupt practices that happened in terms of this customs thing, DVLA, these galamsey issues, even the GFA
child
issues?
trafficking.
If
Child trafficking
the journalist had announced that this is what I'm going to do, do you think someone will fall for it? You don't expect the person to tell you. It's investigative journalism. And the person did what he has to do. When you got wind of this and realized this wasn't happening, use the right channel. In 2016, the High Court passed a judgment that no police officer can confiscate anybody's phone or gadget until there's been a warrant or a court order from the court. Before you can take my phone to check what is on my phone. And at the end of the day, people will just say, hey, you are taking pictures. We are supposed to take pictures of happenings. I'm telling you that in Eastern region, a whole week, police officers who were supposed to man or mount barriers within an enclave failed to appear even for once. And within the same week, armed robbers mounted a barrier and robbed everybody. Assuming Abrantepa, as an onlooker, if I take video of what is happening, and then today, it happened that those on duty were not policemen, they were criminals. The records of my video would have saved the police service to ascertain who were behind those crimes. But if you tell me I need permission for you to take a picture or video of, and if you want something to be done in the secret, it shouldn't be within the public domain. But once it's outside, I have the liberty to film it. But this is the level of intimidation some people are putting some journalists through and are denying them that kind of liberty to do our work.
Okay, so both of you think that Caleb's approach was spot on.
Exactly.
But here is the case: the GJA president, Afromoni, is saying that Caleb erred as far as our ethics is concerned. He clearly breached the ethics relative to Article 13 of our own Code of Ethics, which specifies journalists should take pictures through fair, straightforward, and honest means unless tempered by national interest. His interest here is not so clear. From the face of it, we believe he erred. He goes on to say Caleb shouldn't have filmed without permission, and Caleb should have realized that place is a security zone, and in every security zone, the security law applies. It is no-go area as far as photography is concerned, and his violation of regulation might have triggered the overreaction from the security operatives. He goes on to, condemn the act and then express their, solidarity with Caleb and then Zoe.
No.
I'm not asking my question yet, but Karim is shaking his head. Karim, why are you shaking your head?
No, because that logic is so poor. It's counterintuitive. So you say that unless it is in the interest of the public or some good measure in there.
Yeah.
So that means that the blanket idea that you must film it, so visibly without any whatever, go do or take permission, all of that, can be excused under certain circumstances. The DJ president says that Caleb's intention
is not clear.
It's not clear. Who's making that judgment? Who the hell is he to make that judgment? Because
someone makes a story and goes further to want to substantiate or to prove the fact.
Has Mr. Afromoni spoken to Caleb Kudah to take him through why he was there, what the underlying goal was, to then make this determination? Or is it the case that Mr. Afromoni can unilaterally and so arbitrarily pronounce judgment on a matter like this, because clearly this is a matter that divides opinion, and then say that as the grand author of the codes and ethics of journalism in Ghana, the Kim Jong-un of media practice, ethical media practice in Ghana, I have looked at Caleb Kudah's action. I'm not so sure of his intent, even though I've not spoken to him, and I'm concluding that he has violated something. That's completely nonsensical. And you see, I'm angry because there's this respectability politics around some of the things that we do. And you see, especially when actions like this have consequences for the future. You had Caleb Kudah in that interview, that very bland interview with Bernard Avle, another very poor job that somebody like him has done in this period that shocks all of us. That his dad called him and was like, put the family first. You see, he was worried. Tomorrow, if Caleb Kudah sees something and he gets the slightest inclination that this thing, even though it's a good story, but if I attempt something may happen, he's not going to do that. And you see, that is a dent forever on him and for many who are watching. And maybe finally, Mr. Filmoni, in that judgment that he made there, to say that, well, he should have known that this is a security installation, blah, 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 so he could be arrested and all. You see, that arrest element is something that is quite okay and understandable. Because the fact that that's some security element in there is not in doubt. So if he were only arrested and then the due process happened, that's fair enough. But when he was when he says that which are warranted or something caused the overreaction. Yeah. I don't know if you could read that part for me. He talks something about overreaction.
Okay. So he says it is no go area for as far as photography is concerned. And this violation of regulation might have triggered the overreaction from the security officials.
You see the attempt to justify. Yes, and to play down, you see, might have influenced the overreaction. That nonsense clearly downplays the veracity of what has been done. And you don't forget also that there are equally, Mr. Afimoni, I believe, is not a lawyer. There are lawyers of some good repute in this country who have argued vociferously that no law was breached. So again, if we were all going to pontificate about journalistic ethics and all of that, he's clearly falling short here because he himself, with the proper appreciation of the facts of law, is making a judgment that somebody's conduct may have breached the law. And then goes ahead to say that may have influenced the overreaction. And then we'll go and then say that this thing that they did was bad.
How would you assess the GJA whenever issues of such nature happens? Do you think the GJA has done enough to educate the journalists or protect their interest?
You see, especially when the challenge is clear like this and very strong like this, they have failed. Because you see, the problem is from GJA to wherever, leadership has oftentimes here in this country been very conservative and very timorous in terms of the approach to things. They lack the modern, the contemporary progressiveness and fiery attitude when it comes to making advocacy and fighting things. So I've interviewed Mr. Afimoni before. He's a fine gentleman. No disrespect whatsoever here. But these are people of a certain caliber who like things to be moderate, who like things to go through a certain known standards and norms. So anything that is so revolutionary like that shocks them. So they will be okay. They have criticized Manasa Azuri, for instance, and intimated to an extent when he did those work on Zoomline and all of that, that somehow maybe his work may be destroying Ghanaian business. So all of those things, and I think that they need to be very careful the position that they take. And that is also precisely the problem that we have collectively as a journalist. Because when this whole matter came, Mr. Bernard Avle, who is the boss of Caleb Kudah, who is also the journalist of the year, when he was telling this story, told it in a manner that suggested that here was an independent, objective, neutral journalist of the year, Mr. Bernard Avle, that everybody likes, and engage the story like a third party. You see, when you are part of a pack and it gets abused in that respect, the idea of some objectivity, some neutrality becomes nonsense within that particular context. And here, I'm not even advocating that he should say, take the side of Caleb Kudah, even if he doesn't believe his story. I am saying that the attempt to be some neutral guy sent from, say, BBC, that something has happened in Ghana, so he's coming and do a conversation without appreciation of the context doesn't help. And that is what GG does a lot of these times, trying to stay in the middle and interrogate the issues and ask questions, because as journalists, we ask questions. What's questions for what?
Romeo, on the GGA thing.
I think Mr. Money is not a fountain of knowledge, and in this regard, an experienced person with good intentions would have even engaged the journalists in question before even putting out any comment, knowing that there wouldn't have been nothing behind Caleb going to that extent. Definitely, there was a rationale behind his movement, and there's been sort of a platform that he had made a publication earlier in that regard. Someone came in to refute it. Then, as a journalist, you need to redeem your image. Otherwise, people will tag you as publishing fake or false informations, and it affects your brand. Now he goes beyond the mouse, and then digs to find out or to ascertain that this thing I highlighted, you people came to rebut it, but here lies the case. It's here. So he was digging for it, which is part of journalism. So I don't get the angle from which I feel Money was coming from. If you remember, Kwachi Afreniama, he's been silenced now. Not even a word on Facebook ever for a very long time. Why? Because he was constantly on the neck of the sanitation minister and I feel Money. And he leading the pack. For me, honestly speaking, I don't trust him. So I don't trust his judgments. Because any good leader, for instance, if I happen to be the president of Ghana and an appointee goes to do something, before even releasing a statement to the public, I'll call my appointee and query him and ask him what happened. And then you'll be able to know the nitty-gritties of the happenings.
Yeah.
So when you're putting out a statement, you say for a fact, not just mere assumption. He was just assuming that the young man. Meanwhile, you have, aside your code of ethics, the Constitution is supreme. He should take the Constitution and open to chapter 12 from article 162 to clause 1 to 6 and tell us which of the two, compared to the journalism code, is more supreme. So he should give us a break. Honestly speaking, he didn't speak like a father.
Okay.
And it saddens my heart that same people will go out to make him retain his position.
So, how should media houses handle issues of such nature when your employer, when your staff is being abused for what, I mean, in the course of their duties? How should they be handled?
Good. Abrante, apart from the Caleb incident, there are some media houses who are also not doing the right things.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not doing the right things in the light that they are not even paying their workers well, they are not paying their social securities. People are quiet in this country because of lack of jobs. They are scared to be shown the exit.
I've heard people say journalists are the only people who speak for others, but there's no one to speak for them.
Exactly, because once you try to be loud, those who are very loud are those who are well established, that they have something working for them. So you can't tell them what to say. A typical classical example, Captain Smart. He had his foot on the pedal, and knowing that he has a setup, he's free to do whatever he likes. Like anybody in Japan, he's rich, so he can speak his mind even against his government. But you be in that party and be poor and be employed by government and be poor and speak against government and see if you will not be shown the exit. But because the man Kele Japan is what to do, he feels comfortable telling people the truth. So now, if you do the whole analysis, it tells you that truth in this country is dependent on your stomach. And most media houses are doing the wrong thing, like I said earlier. They are not paying the right salaries to the workers. They are also not paying their social security. And in terms of even taxes, most are not doing the right thing. So they feel that once they allow their outfit to hit the government in power, when they start coming after them, it will affect them. I'm not using Captain Smart per se, but there are myriad of them in this system operating in the same way. But remember, it was this social security issue that sent someone like Agude to jail. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. But it's as if the law is softened when Mr. A is concerned. It's bite-harder when Mr. B is concerned. These are the injustices we are talking about in the system. That the system must be fixed.
Yeah, so see, and I hate to be dwelling so much on the Caleb Kudah story. I mean, it is the latest. It is good to use that. But everything I'm saying here, I would hope that people understand it to be about the broader perspective. Because remove Caleb Kudah and put someone in there, or remove 2021 and push it to 2050, these principles must apply the same way. So you ask, what must media houses do? I'm happy that Senior Robio here has talked about, the fact that, consider to the fact that there may be some other things that are done wrongly. But in the specific instance of when journalists have been under attack in this manner, we have failed to seize the moment to let those who have power realize that we can fight back. So of all the things that Mr. Samuel Atamensa said in that interview, which had Caleb in there yesterday, the only part for me that resonated quite well was what he said. He told one of the operatives when they, invaded their premises, that don't forget that we are media personnel, and that today you are doing your work. We're telling you to calm down and do it professionally. You are not listening. When you are done with your work today and you go,
we also do our
tomorrow work. And forever, we have the field day to also do our work. Except that seems to me plainly rhetorical. He's not added the work to it for me so far. This is what I would have expected in this case. That yesterday when they did that interview with Caleb Kudah, the last 5 minutes they said, so what have you decided to do? And I was waiting for something revolutionary. I didn't hear that. Yesterday, Bernard Avle had declared, and if they thought, for instance, that was huge enough what had happened, to say that Bernard Avle, today is going to cross the line that he has always been on, the moderate that he has been, and said that today, in solidarity with Caleb Kudah, he is hitting the streets, and that any journalist in this country who is minded to once and for all do something should walk and come join him. You have absolutely no idea how that will be. You see, we need to seize moments and take very drastic action. I appreciate that people are different and they look at things differently. Maybe he is, or generally may not be as radical as I am attempting to be. Or that maybe I've probably been seeing it, we're not seeing the bigger picture, whatever it is. The point is that there could be many other things that you can do. Seize the moment and not sit within the issue at the height of it and play nice guy.
You expected a protest?
I expected that. There could be other things that they could explore, but I'm saying that within the context of what is happening, I would expect that. And you see, it is also because you need to send a statement. Here in this country, everything comes down to political leadership, because our politics is one that revolves around a certain bureaucracy and leadership. That means that they have so much power to do anything that they want, especially in instances where those things threaten their political fortunes. So if you want them to act, then you go there. But when you let it go like that, as we have always done, then clearly what you do is, because these national security guys and all of that, the reason why they have so much impunity is because of the people who appointed them. And they know that as it happened at Ayawaso, they will stand behind them. You see, this is DSP Azugu. We saw the work that he led at Ayawaso. It was completely chaotic. It was very unprofessional according to the, you can infer from the report of the commission, among many other things. And then the next time that we see him out there in the public, he sends 3 armed officers, about 7 armed officers in 3 pickups to go grab a lady. They were even fraudulently using Caleb Kudah's phone to draw her. How are you Boko Haram? You take the person's phone, Just say, where you dey? We could go chop. So meet God, you meet them outside so that they would abduct her. And then when you go into the building, you are applying force to drag this lady out. I mean, what is wrong with us? And you see, they are doing that because they know that as Budo, or what is the name of that guy who slapped some judge, nothing happened to him. They know that nothing will happen to them because the people who have put them there need them there. And that is why...
So they do it with impunity.
Yeah, so that's why the journalist in this moment needs to act and not call on God that in the next 4 years when you retire or something. Come on, God.
The problem we have is that, you see, when it's happening on the other side of the bank of the river, people feel, oh, it will take a while to cross to my end. When a politician experiences such, some journalists made mockery of it. Yeah. But by and by, it's crossing the line. And it's high time we tell people in the face, it doesn't matter who is in power. Once it has to do with abuse, especially journalists, people doing their professional works, and then it crosses the line, you tell the person to make sure it's either because it has happened to Asada, it has happened to Oslausu, it has happened to Kwamina Battles. That's not what the point is. It has happened to a lot of people. But at the end of the day, we say nothing, and we are the same people who empower these people with so much impunity. But if you, as a leader, watches on, tomorrow if you're not in power, the same people will be unleashed on you. But once we set a reasonable standard, even if you're in opposition, you would have that relaxation and comfort and believe in the system that even if you pour yourself out on the street, people cannot indiscriminately attack you because you hold a contrary view to a happening in the country. But once we watch on, if Party A leaves power and Party A B comes, they also recruit and they will also target others, and we will be in a cycle.
Okay.
So it's high time journalists in this country should stop aligning themselves to political parties so that they can do their work without fear or favor.
Okay. Right. So there's a post I chanced on yesterday. The man I call my manager, Rabiu Al-Hassan, is a senior colleague. And he says, thugs stormed the courts to release someone under trial. An investigative journalist killed, and it remains a cold case to date. A journalist has allegedly been tortured by state security, and no one has been held to account. 5 citizens killed during elections. Masked state security officials stormed a polling station, fired gunshots during a by-election. Guess where all these things happened? Ghana. Look, we are emboldening wrongdoers, feigning rule of law, and continuing in our partisan defense of the status quo. But know that when it blows up, it will consume all of us. And on this note, we take a break. When we return, we do an Osuusu Bempe's apology to celebrities for the write-up that he put on social media with respect to the Fix the Country protests. It's Bloggers Forum on Ghana Web TV.
From the dawn of time, people have engaged in several businesses. With the onset of technology and innovation, life has relatively been made easier. By using debit or credit cards,
mobile banking.
Thank you. And your favorite, mobile money?
tech has indeed married business. On BizTech, we spend time with faces behind known and upcoming businesses in the country.
Learn more about the new technologies and innovation,
as well as find out about the trending issues in the world of business.
Join us as we serve you with a variety of compelling interviews, projects, and others right here on Ghana Web TV.
Welcome back. It's Bloggers Forum on Ghana Web TV. The name is Abrantipa. Romeo and Abdul Karim Ibrahim are my guests for this episode. Next is Ernest Owusu-Bempah, the head of communication at Ghana Gas. Now, remember, last week we had a conversation on his epistle on social media, but before that, he had granted an interview with Peace FM. Let's take a listen to the interview. We'll be back to read his apology.
Fixing the illiteracy problem, which has become part and parcel of us. I'm on my way. I go backward. Obide JSS, I know about social media, I know how to work just to become a celebrity. That thing will stop. The ordinary Ghanaian can read in between the lines and know the difference between intellectual discourse and propaganda. Obibe Transwa, Oma Ghana, da sumu 4 years. Am I a problem? He is fixing it. Obit me kono akotrash in the cream book muse. Yesi kwai ewo Coco Road. Over kone kwani ni wani aye cockroach de jong. Kufuado sondo a leader. Fesika mass celebrities enkodi. No me chat run Ghana for. He will fix the problems. And Ghanaians should help him fix the mess. NDC ni John Dramani Mahama. Ejato this is what we are talking about. And yes, celebrity or two man. Say down over criticize. We are almost celebrities or more Ghana. I've been some actors and actresses and whatever. Have they been able to even put themselves together? Say yeah, common force fighting to win an award. Cry simple award like Mobo, and I say simple award like Grammy. What is so yet me we need you are? They should go and fix themselves up. If they want to fix the country, they should go back and fix themselves up. I dare them, if they can even win one international award for us in the movie industry, I will say yes. They have fixed themselves up before they have that shenanigans to come and tell the president or the government that they should fix themselves up.
So after this interview and the epistle that he put on social media, a number of celebrities, Omo Bashino, Romeo Kralase, Otutu Bimano. Now, Ernest Owusu-Bempah goes on social media again, and this time around it's an apology. He says, while some agreed with the piece, it wasn't all hearts and flowers. Let me state that my motivation to write that piece was not to slander all celebrities in general, nor persons involved in the campaign, but to bring to the fore some salient indicators with regards to where we are as a country, and to correct some serious negative phenomenon within the Ghanaian celebrity front. I have taken a second look at the write-up, and although nothing that I wrote is an untruth, I admit that perhaps I was too harsh in some of my conclusions and the choice of words. This shouldn't have been the case, and I apologize to all those who may have been hurt by the piece. I'm sorry. I therefore retract the strong and uncomplimentary language used in the write-up. Maybe the issues that I was so much concerned about would not have been glossed over had I not engaged in some early conclusions. Romeo, apology, no, who accept you, patch, but apology accepted.
The best apology in this regard would have been for him to resign. But because in this country, what we call integrity is a scarce commodity. So people feel they can easily eat their cakes and have it. On many occasions have we heard people in such positions spew unwarranted words, spew, excuse my language, gibberish, and then come back and tell us, upon further reflections, I realized my utterances were, you resign. Because you are in a capacity as a PR communicator. So whatever you say, before you churn it out, you understand how it travels. We had a PRO of talk some years back, Miss Abaloko. You won't hear her double in this, excuse my language, this gata deliveries like Owusu-Bempah did. But you see, if leadership, when we talk about fixing a system, we are talking about leadership taking responsibility, leadership showing the way. That me, as a young person, I have no business in insulting people. Insulting people in the sense that when you look down upon people's profession and use words in which intend to poo-poo whatever efforts they put out in terms of nation building, then it becomes unfortunate. People like Socrates should have been the ones leading the front to call for his resignation, because they have been the committed people in that regard in terms of creative arts people who were on the forefront working for this government. And then someone who, through their sweat, wins power for you to get such a juicy appointment, you sit back and then you diss them. And then people watch on. He comes back and spew a few things and he says he's sorry. Like seriously, so in my capacity as who? And then I insult the president and I say I'm sorry. I should be dealt with. People should be made to face sanctions once they cross the lines. So you, as a Brantepa, you are the entertainment head, right? The entertainment head of Ghana Web. In your capacity as a leader, if you see something that transcends a barrier or a boundary that you are not supposed to say, leadership should sanction you. So that whoever takes over, or when you come back, you will know how to relate or put things out there.
But in this case, is resignation the only means?
Abrantipa, there was this chief of staff lady who made a comment on Facebook. When people complained about over 1,000 chief of staff and there some photographers and they are being paid. You remember, even our own Sandra Ebu, whose name came up, and there was this lady who was also part. When it came up, people called for their resignation because they insulted the conscience and the intelligence of Ghanaians, and also insulted those who are genuinely also qualified but have not been employed and still remain unemployed. At the end of the day, what happened? Nothing happened. It was glossed over. So because that standard had not been set by the APEX leadership. So when those at the bottom commit it, no one calls them to order. So also Bempa would say this, and tomorrow he will release another epistle, lambasting another arm of a society, and then you come back and tell you that he's sorry. And that is how the system has been molded to be.
Abdul Karim Ibrahim. Apology, no.
I know we don't have much time. I know we don't have much time.
Yeah, but I mean,
apology, I'm for the record, I don't have in principle any problem with insults. I think insults are good. They communicate the true feeling in any situation. So many issues
okay.
So but insults can also be hurtful. So in instances where based on your own judgment you think that you have hurt somebody, you want to retract and all of that, then that's cool. But here's the issue for me. I want to just read quickly some of the things that he said, and that's where my challenge is. So it says, why do these entertainers think anybody really gives a crap about what they think? Of course, this is the downside to social media, where below average intelligent folks who can't read and understand English want to teach the president how to govern. And then goes on to say that the politics of attrition and patronage isn't going to help these misfits and their backers. Do you know Mr. Osubempa? I mean, he belongs to the NDP or something, the former president's, former first lady's party, yes. And then, with problem with the NDC, that's a lot of PR work for the NPP. If we come get a job, we will give you some. That is politics of attrition and patronage. He's the biggest beneficiary of that. But you see, the problem is the contempt in describing and insulting people who are equally citizens. They just so happen to be entertainers, celebrities, whatever. That for them, somehow, they are not qualified to complain. They are not qualified to contribute to the political discourse. And so, because those people's businesses oftentimes rely on the mass appeal of people, we try to get them to be silent because we will remind them that you are saying Sarkodie, you are this, you are that. If you venture into this space, we will make our people maybe stop listening to your music and all of that. Those are some of the things that get them to be quiet. What I don't like, I don't mind if you disagree with someone and insult them till heavens. I couldn't be bothered. What I don't like is for people like him who are only benefiting today because of their political affiliation, to tell other people to shut up. And that when those people are not happy with what is going on, because he is happy in whichever petroleum, wherever business, lucrative enterprise that he is in working, other people cannot complain. That is where the problem is for me. And so I don't take people like that very seriously. And I think that if he is, for instance, minded at all, because we are discussing his apology, if he's minded at all to take that thing that he has done very seriously, going forward, he would know and recognize that it is a function of this democracy that we have, that all and everybody can make inputs, can criticize, however rambunctiously, in this whole arena. And that when they do that, he can disagree with them, but he has absolutely no right to call them names and categorize them in a certain way as though they have no entitlement like he does because he's in politics. That we cannot countenance at all.
All right, that's our time will allow us. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys for coming. Abdul Karim Ibrahim is a columnist. He's a broadcast journalist. He's an international debater.
Oh.
In fact, this is the gentleman who exposed Dr. UN. Yeah, Dr. UN. Then support the
but you are the one who did the Dr. UN interview.
Don't listen to him.
The only interview that somebody did with Dr. UN was about the first.
So he exposed Dr. UN, and yeah, I mean after that one, I said, "Tonto Dickens Ukoji play TV." They had to take. This man I've forgotten. He works with the UN.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the name has escaped me. He was the one who pointed out to them that, Masa, what do you say? Yes, Luchi. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they had to take him to correct them. So, Karim, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
McDonald Nanaya Asari, aka Romeo, he's a columnist, 1, assemblyman for Madina Social Welfare, 2. Number 3, he's a voice coach. Miss Ghana for Nina, our coach will be on how to talk, speech. Have I said you are an actor? Romeo is an actor. He's been JCR president before. Legon. The other person they also actually mentioned, so I'll pause here.
Big man.
Yeah, he's a big man. Media, I just came to host the show. Thank you for watching. We are still celebrating our 22nd anniversary. It's hashtag GhanaWeb22. The theme is Ghana Web then, now, and later. And one of our projects is the road safety campaign. We want to reduce the number of accidents on our roads, film anything that you see on the roads that poses as a danger to the lives of persons. Send them to us via email, newswires@ghanaweb.com, newswires@ghanaweb.com. We are on social media. Let's get interactive. Is at the Ghana Web on all social media platforms. Thank you for watching Bloggers Forum. I am Benefo, who have been Abrantipa.